The desert planet Telora was a place of silence and dust. Once, it had strong cities and shining buildings. Now only broken towers stood under a red sky. The wind carried the sound of metal creaking and voices crying for help. Rayhan, a human explorer, landed his ship near the edge of a ruined colony. His ship, the Horizon, was old but strong. It had taken him across many dangerous places, but Telora felt different. It was sad. It felt like something terrible had happened here. Rayhan stepped out of his ship wearing a dusty coat and a scanner on his wrist. His robot helper Bainey rolled beside him on metal wheels. "Scan for life signs," Rayhan said. Bainey beeped. "Multiple weak signals ahead. Some are not moving, others hiding." Rayhan nodded. He followed the signals into the old mining village. The walls were broken. People were afraid to come outside. Strange guards with sharp weapons watched every street. Rayhan knew these were Vork's men. General Vork was feared across the galaxy. He conquered planets, stole people, and sold them as slaves. Rayhan hated him. As he walked through the market, he saw cages. Inside them were different aliens. Some were old, some young. All of them looked tired and hopeless. One cage, hidden under a broken roof, caught his attention. Inside sat a silver-skinned female alien with glowing blue eyes. Her hair was long and dark. Chains were around her wrists and ankles. She did not cry or beg. She just looked at the sky. Like she wanted to disappear. Rayhan stopped. Something about her made him freeze. She looked peaceful, but her eyes were full of pain. "Who is she?" Rayhan asked a trader. The alien trader laughed. "That one? Useless. She doesn't speak. Doesn't fight. Came from a dead planet. We'll sell her cheap." Rayhan looked again. She turned her head slowly and looked at him. For 1 second, their eyes met. He saw fear and something else. A silent plea. "How much?" Rayhan asked. The trader grinned. 5 fuel cells or 2 food packs. Rayhan only had 6 fuel cells left. He needed them to reach the next system. But he couldn't leave her. He handed over the fuel cells. "Your choice." "Human," the trader said, unlocking the cage. She did not move at first. Rayhan knelt in front of her. "It's okay. You're free now." She stared at him, confused. Slowly, she crawled out of the cage. The sun touched her skin, and she winced like it hurt. "What's your name?" Rayhan asked. She spoke so softly he could barely hear. "Zira." "Nice to meet you, Zira. I'm Rayhan. This is Bainey." Bainey beeped cheerfully. "Hello, Zira." Zira looked at the robot, then at Rayhan. Her chains clinked as she walked. "Come on. Let's get out of here before someone changes their mind." They moved through quiet streets. Rayhan kept his hand near his side blaster, but no one stopped them. The guards were too lazy, too sure that no one would dare steal a slave. Back at the Horizon, Rayhan led Zira inside. It was small but safe. He gave her water, clean clothes, and let her sit on a soft bed. Zira touched the cloth gently. "Why?" Rayhan looked at her. "Why what? Why did you save me?" He shrugged. "Because no one else would." She looked down. "I have nothing to give you." "I don't want anything," Rayhan said. "I just couldn't leave you there." Zira nodded slowly. She held the water cup with shaking hands. "You are the first to speak kindly to me in many years." Rayhan smiled a little. "Well, get used to it. You're free now." But Zira didn't smile back. "I don't know what freedom feels like." That night, Rayhan stayed in the cockpit while Zira slept. He watched the scanners and checked the systems. Something told him trouble was coming. Danny rolled beside him. "You used all your fuel cells." "I know," Rayhan said. "We don't have enough to reach the next station." "I know that too." Bainey beeped again. "You did a good thing, but the risk is high." Rayhan looked at the stars. "Some things are worth the risk." Behind them, in the sleeping quarters, Zira curled up under a warm blanket. She held the edge of it like it was a treasure. Her dreams were filled with memories of chains, pain, and empty days. But now, a new face had appeared in her dreams, a human with kind eyes. The sun of Tolora rose slowly, painting the sky in deep orange and red. Inside the small ship, the horizon, Zira opened her eyes. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. She reached for her chains, but they weren't there. Her hands were free. She sat up, feeling soft cloth under her fingers. The room was quiet. A low hum came from the ship's engine, and warm light filled the corners. It was the first time in many years she had slept without fear. The door slid open, and Rehan stepped in. He held a metal tray with food and water. "Good morning," he said with a smile. "I hope you like this. It's not fancy, but it's warm." Zira took the tray slowly. She looked at the food, then at Rehan. "Why are you being kind to me?" Rehan sat on a small stool near her bed. "Because it's the right thing to do." Zira was silent. She picked at the bread-like food and ate slowly. Her eyes watched him carefully, as if waiting for a trick. But Rehan didn't ask her for anything. He just sat quietly. "Where are we going?" she asked softly. "We need to leave Tolora," Rehan said. "But I gave away my fuel cells to free you. Now I need to get more." Zira's eyes widened. "You risked your journey for me?" Rehan nodded. "Some things are more important than cargo or credits." She didn't know what to say. In her life, no one had ever done something like this for her. Later that day, Rehan put on his coat and checked his tools. "I'm going back to the trade post," he told Bainey. "Maybe I can trade some spare parts for fuel." Bainey beeped. "Be careful. Vork's men are everywhere." Zira stood up. "Let me help." "You should rest," Rehan said. "No," she replied. "I know how traders think. I lived among them. I can speak 3 trade languages. I can get you a better deal." Rehan paused. Then he nodded. "All right. Stay close." Together, they walked through the dusty streets of Tolora. Zira wore a long cloak with a hood, hiding her face. Rehan carried a bag of ship parts and tools out at the trade post. Loud voices echoed around them. Alien traders argued over prices. Rehan showed his goods, but the offers were poor. Then Zira stepped forward. She spoke in a language Rehan didn't understand. The trader, a 4-eyed being with green skin, looked surprised. Zira spoke again, faster, pointing to the parts and waving her hands like a true merchant. After a few minutes, the trader smiled and handed over 4 fuel cells. Rehan blinked. "That's double what I expected." Zira smiled slightly. "I told him the parts were from a royal ship, very rare." Rehan laughed. "You're good at this." Zira's smile faded. "I used to be a scientist before Vork's army took my world. I helped build machines that could heal or grow food. When they came, they burned everything. They said we were weak." Rehan looked at her gently. "You were never weak." They returned to the ship, but Bani rolled up fast. "Warning," the robot said. "A message just came. Vork's patrols are searching the town. They're looking for a female slave who escaped." Zira's face turned pale. "They know," she whispered. "We have to leave now," Rehan said. 4 fuel cells we'll get. US to the next moon base. We can get more fuel there." As Rehan loaded the ship, Zira walked to the window. She looked at the dusty town one last time. "This place was my cage," she said. "I never thought I'd leave it alive." Rehan came beside her. "You're not going back, I promise." The ship took off just as patrol ships entered the skies. Blaster lights flashed in the distance, but the horizon flew fast and silent. Into the clouds. Inside, Zira sat near the window, watching the stars grow brighter. "Where are we going now?" she asked. "There's a small base on Moon 7. It's safe. We can get more fuel there and fix the ship," Rehan said. Zira turned toward him. And after that? Rihan looked into her eyes. That's up to you. You're free now. You can go anywhere. Zira nodded slowly. I want to learn again. To build again. Maybe help others who are still trapped. You'll do great things, Rihan said. For a moment, silence filled the ship. Then Zira spoke again. Do humans always care this much for others? Rihan chuckled. Not all, but some of us try. She looked at him. I'm glad I met one of the good ones. That night, stars sparkled outside the ship's window. Zira sat beside the small control board, learning how the ship worked. Rihan watched her quietly, smiling. The scared girl in chains was gone. A brave, smart woman had taken her place, and this was only the beginning. The horizon moved quickly through the black sky, stars blinking like tiny fires in the distance. Rihan kept his eyes on the controls while Bani checked the radar. Any signs of patrols? Rihan asked. Bani beeped. 3 small ships following. They are fast, but we are faster for now. Zira sat near the window, her hands gripping the edge of her seat. Her heart beat fast. She had escaped the planet, but now the sky itself felt like a trap. Vork's hunters were close behind. Rihan looked back at her. Don't worry, we'll lose them. Zira nodded, though fear still lived in her eyes. They don't stop. Once Vork marks someone, he sends his best fighters. Then we'll have to be better, Rihan said with a small smile. The horizon flew toward the asteroid belt ahead. It was dangerous, full of spinning rocks and dust clouds. But it was the perfect place to hide. As they entered the field, the ship shook slightly. Small asteroids hit the shield, making the ship rumble. Hold on, Rihan said. He moved the ship left and right, dodging sharp rocks. The chasing patrols followed, but one of them hit an asteroid and exploded in bright light. That's one down, Bani said. Zira stared at the glowing pieces of the broken ship. They won't stop, not until they capture me. Or destroy. US. Rihan narrowed his eyes. We won't let that happen. He flew deeper into the belt, using the biggest rocks as cover. He turned off the ship's main engines and switched to silent mode. The ship drifted quietly between shadows. The last 2 patrols passed by without noticing them. Bani beeped. They've lost us. Zira let out a long breath. For the first time she felt safe. They floated in silence for a few minutes. The stars outside were soft and peaceful. Rihan turned to Zira. You said you were a scientist. What did you work on? She looked down at her hands. My people were builders, not fighters. I studied light energy. We made tools that could heal, grow food, even power cities without pollution. But when Vork attacked, he destroyed everything. He said peace was weakness. Rihan listened carefully. He fears knowledge. That's why he turned smart people into slaves. Zira nodded. He broke our libraries, burned our history. My people are scattered now. Hiding or gone. Rihan reached into a small drawer and pulled out a glowing tablet. Then let's start saving what we can, he said. Teach me what you remember. I'll help you keep it safe. Zira looked surprised. You want to learn from me? Of course, Rihan said. You have a strong mind. Don't let Vork steal that too. Zira smiled softly. You're strange, human, Rihan laughed. I've been called worse. Later, they left the asteroid belt and continued toward Moon 7. Zira began writing down old formulas and diagrams. On the tablet, she drew maps of her home world and energy tools she remembered. Rihan watched her work with interest. You know, your knowledge could help many people. Maybe even fight back against Vork. Zira's eyes grew serious. I don't want revenge. I want freedom, for me and for others. That's even better, Rihan said. Freedom is worth fighting for. As they approached the moon base, Bani warned them. Signal detected. It's Vork's command ship. Rihan looked at the screen. A large warship hovered in space near Moon 7. Its black surface reflected no light. It was silent and deadly. They got here first, Rihan said. How did they know? Zira stepped forward. Vork used tracking dust, very fine. It sticks to skin and clothes, I forgot. Rayhan looked at her coat. It might still be on you. Bainey scanned the room and beeped, confirmed. Small particles found on Zira's cloak. Rayhan grabbed a cleaning tool and helped Zira remove the dust. They changed her clothes and wiped every surface. Now we know, he said. They won't track us again, but the warship was still near the moon. They had to think fast. Zira looked at the map. There's an old space tunnel nearby, hidden by debris. My people used it before the war. It leads to Sector 9. Is it safe? Rayhan asked. It's old, but it might be our only chance. Rayhan nodded. Let's go. He turned the ship toward the secret tunnel. Vork's ship began to move, scanning the area. The horizon flew fast, dodging debris. Zira guided them with her memory. At last they found the hidden tunnel, a black hole between stars. Rayhan hesitated. No map, no data, only your memory. Zira looked at him. Do you trust me? He smiled. With my life. They entered the tunnel. Lights swirled around them, time and space bent. For a moment, everything was silent. Then they came out the other side. Sector 9. Empty. Quiet. Safe. Zira looked back at Rayhan. We made it. He gave her a thumbs up. You're amazing, she smiled. No, I'm just free. The horizon floated silently in Sector 9, surrounded by stars that shimmered like crystals in the dark sky. There were no patrols here, no warships, no signs of Vork's army. Just peace. Rayhan leaned back in the pilot seat and sighed with relief. We're safe, for now. Zira stood beside him, her eyes scanning the endless space. This place, I remember it. My people once used Sector 9 as a safe zone. We called it the Sea of Lights. Fitting name, Rayhan said, smiling. It's beautiful. They moved the ship toward a large gas giant with rings made of ice and stone. Rayhan carefully guided the horizon into the rings, using them as cover. Inside the rings, the ship was nearly invisible. We'll hide here, Rayhan said. Vork's scanners can't find us behind all this rock and radiation. Bainey beeped in agreement. Smart choice, but we should fix the engines. The long flight damaged the cooling system. I'll start repairs, Rayhan said. Picking up his tools, Zira followed him to the engine room. She watched closely as he opened the panel and began working. Can I help? She asked. Rayhan looked up. Sure, hand me that connector. As she passed him the part, their hands touched. Zira pulled back slightly, but Rayhan only smiled. You're learning fast. I had to, Zira said quietly. In my world, if you didn't learn quickly, you didn't survive. Rayhan paused his work. But you did survive. That makes you strong. Zira nodded but said nothing. She stared at the engine, then pointed at a small piece. That part is cracked. If we fly too fast, it could break. Rayhan checked it and smiled. You've got a good eye. Zira gave a small smile too. Before the war, I worked on energy ships, smaller than this, but similar. I liked fixing things. Well, Rayhan said, you're welcome to fix anything you like on this ship. They spent the next few hours working side by side. Bainey helped by scanning parts and offering tools. Later, Rayhan made a simple dinner. He and Zira sat near the main window, looking out at the stars while they ate. Zira tasted the food and smiled. This is better than anything I've had in years. It's just rehydrated noodles, Rayhan laughed. It's warm, she said, and shared. Rayhan grew quiet for a moment. Then he asked, do you ever want to go back? To your home planet. Zira looked at the stars. There's nothing left to go back to. Vork's army destroyed it, but maybe I can build something new. You're not alone, Rehan said. We can build something together. Zira turned her eyes toward him. For the first time, they were not filled with fear or sadness. There was hope. Just then, Baini beeped. Incoming message, hidden frequency. Rehan stood up. Who could be contacting us here? He pressed a button, and a voice filled the room. This is Commander Relo of the Resistance. We picked up an old signal from a Taloran device. Is anyone out there? Zira gasped. That's my people's signal. Rehan responded. This is Rehan aboard the Horizon. I have a survivor from Talora. Her name is Zira. There was a pause. Then the voice replied, Zira, daughter of the Star Builders? Zira's hands shook. Yes, I'm here. We've been looking for survivors. Come to Base Echo. Coordinates are attached. We need your knowledge. The message ended. Zira looked at Rehan. Base Echo, that means others survived. Rehan smiled. Looks like you're not alone after all. Zira's voice was strong. Then let's go. If we can help the Resistance, we must try. Rehan nodded. We'll leave in the morning. Let the ship rest for tonight. That evening, Zira sat in the control room, looking at the old star maps she had drawn. She began updating them, adding the path to Base Echo. Rehan watched her quietly. You've changed, he said softly. Zira looked up. How? When I first saw you. You didn't speak. You looked like you had given up. But now, you're alive again. Zira smiled gently. That's because someone treated me like a person, not a thing. They sat together in silence for a while. Then Zira said, Rehan, why did you really help me? Rehan looked at her with honest eyes. Because I couldn't leave you behind. Not just because it was right, but because something inside me said you were important. I didn't understand it then, but I do now. Zira's voice was soft. And what do you understand now? Rehan reached out and gently held her hand. That I want to protect you. Not because you're weak, but because you mean something to me. Zira didn't pull her hand away. Instead, she held his back. Her smile was real now. I never thought I'd feel this again. She whispered. You deserve to feel it every day, Rehan said. The stars outside twinkled as if they agreed. Inside the ship, hope was no longer a small light, it was growing. Brighter. Tomorrow, they would leave the hiding place and travel to Base Echo. Together. And for the first time in a long time, Zira wasn't running from her past. She was walking toward her future. The Horizon glided through quiet space, heading toward the Resistance base. Rehan sat at the controls, checking their course. Zira stood beside him, watching the stars pass by. Her heart beat faster than usual, not from fear, but from something else. Purpose. ETA to Base Echo? Zira asked. Baini beeped. 3 hours, no enemy ships detected, Rehan smiled. Good. Let's hope it stays that way. Zira looked down at the data tablet in her hands. She had written down everything she remembered: maps, systems, energy tools her people once used. Tools that could now help the Resistance. I'm ready, she said softly. Rehan turned to her. You don't have to do this alone. I'll be with you. Zira gave a small smile. I know. That's why I'm not afraid. When they reached Base Echo, it wasn't what Rehan expected. The base was hidden inside a hollowed asteroid, its entrance covered by a rotating rock shield. From the outside, it looked like just another floating stone in space. But inside, life buzzed. Ships came and went. Mechanics worked on machines. Pilots trained in simulation rooms. There were humans, aliens, and many species working together. Commander Relo, a tall alien with gray skin and sharp eyes, greeted them at the docking bay. You must be Zira, Relo said. Many thought you were lost. I was, Zira replied. But I've returned with knowledge and a wish to help. Rehan stepped forward. We both want to help. Vork's growing stronger. We can't let him take more worlds. Relo led them to a command room where maps of enemy zones lit up the walls. Vork's territory was spreading fast. He's building something, Relo said. We believe it's a new control weapon. Something that can paralyze machines and ships from a distance. If he finishes it, he'll control entire systems with one command. Zira's eyes narrowed. He's using core tech from my people. I've seen pieces of it before. Can you stop it? Relo asked. I can do better, she said. I can break it and create something to protect us from it. Rayhan raised his eyebrows. You have a plan? Zira nodded. There's an abandoned science station on planet Nirak. My people used it during our golden years. Vork never found it. If we reach it, I can reactivate the lab systems. We can build a shield to block his control signal. But it's risky. Relo warned. Nirak is near Vork's border. Rayhan looked at Zira. We'll go. We've been through worse. Relo nodded slowly. All right, take one of our stealth ships. We'll provide fuel and supplies. That night, Rayhan and Zira sat together in a quiet room within the base. The lights were dim, and outside the window, stars floated silently. You sure about this? Rahan asked. Yes, Zira said. I want to fight, not with weapons, but with knowledge. Rayhan reached for her hand. I'll stand beside you. Every step. Zira held his hand gently. You gave me freedom. Now I want to use it to free others. The next day, they left in a sleek stealth ship named Silver Wing. Bainey joined them. As always, as they neared planet Nirak, they passed dead satellites and frozen debris signs of old battles. Entering atmosphere, Rayhan said. The planet was covered in snow and thick clouds. The lab was hidden under the ice, inside a mountain. Zira guided the ship to a narrow valley. There, that's the entrance. They landed near a hidden door. It was covered in snow and ice. Rayhan used a heat cutter to melt it away. Behind the door was a dark tunnel. Zira stepped in first. The air was cold, but familiar. I remember this place, she whispered. I trained here. They moved through the quiet halls until they reached a large control room. Screens lined the walls. Tables were covered in old tools and wires. Zira touched a panel. Let's bring it to life. She began repairing the main core, with Rayhan and Bainey helping. Lights flickered on. The hum of power returned. Soon, the whole station lit up. Zira smiled. Now we build the shield. She worked for hours, drawing plans and building new circuits. Rayhan brought her tools and tested parts. Together, they formed a strong team. This is a plasma deflector, Zira explained. If we link it to a pulse core, it will block Vork's mind control signal. Rayhan looked at the glowing core. You think it'll work? I believe, she said. That's enough. Suddenly, Bainey beeped fast. Warning. A small scout ship is approaching. Not ours. Zira's face hardened. They found us, Rayhan stood. Then we finish this now. No more hiding. Zira worked quickly, placing the last pieces together. She powered up the device. A soft blue light filled the room. It's ready, she said. Rayhan nodded. Let's take it back and show the resistance what hope looks like. The shield device glowed softly as it powered up inside the snowy lab on planet Nirak. Zira and Rayhan stood beside it, both tired but proud. They had done it. A machine that could block Vork's deadly control signal now stood ready. Suddenly, Bainey beeped with urgency. Enemy ship landed nearby. 10 life forms, heavy armor, Vork soldiers. Rayhan picked up his side blaster. They're here for the device. Zira's voice was steady. Then we protect it. The station lights flickered as the old building sensed the threat. Zira moved quickly to activate the lab's old defense systems. These walls have built-in shields, she explained. They won't hold for long, but they'll slow them down. Rayhan nodded. That's all we need. Outside, the enemy troops moved through the snow, dark shadows against the white land. Their leader, a tall soldier in black armor, raised his hand. "Break the door. Bring the girl alive." Inside, Zira placed the shield device into a transport case. "We need to get this to the Resistance. If it stays here, they'll destroy it." Rayhan agreed. "Baini, prepare the ship. Zira, finish the connection. I'll hold the hallway." He moved into the narrow path that led to the entrance. Behind old crates, he aimed his blaster. The door exploded with a loud blast. Smoke filled the air. Rayhan fired first, hitting one soldier. In the chest, more rushed in. The hallway lit up with energy blasts. Zira worked fast, her fingers moving across the control panel. 10 seconds until transfer is complete. Outside, Rayhan took cover behind a broken table. He breathed deeply. Staying calm, Zira's voice came through the cum. "The device is ready. We can go." Rayhan fell back, covering their escape. Benny opened the lab's rear exit, hidden behind storage units. They ran through a snowy tunnel that led to the valley. Behind them, shouts and weapons echoed as they reached the ship. A blaster shot hit the ice beside Rayhan. He turned and fired. Back, buying time for Zira and Baini to enter the ship. Once inside, Rayhan jumped into the pilot's seat. "Hold on." The silver wing lifted into the air just as more enemy troops arrived. They fired, but the ship's shields held strong. Inside, Zira secured the device in the safety chamber. "We can't let it fall into Vork's hands." Rayhan looked at her. "Then let's take it straight to Base Echo." But the battle wasn't over yet. As they reached open space, a massive shadow appeared above them. A dark warship, Vork's flagship. "He's here," Zira whispered. Rayhan stared at the screen. "He brought the whole fleet," Baini beeped. "We are outnumbered." "But we have the shield." Zira's eyes lit up. "Wait, if we activate the shield in space, we might block their control signals. Their drones and weapons depend on that signal," Rayhan smiled. "Let's do it." Zira rushed to the chamber. She adjusted the settings. "Linking the device to our ship's energy core. 5 seconds to activation." The ship shook as enemy fire struck their rear thruster. "Hurry!" Rayhan shouted. Zira pressed the final switch. A pulse of blue light burst from the ship, spreading like a wave through space. In an instant, the enemy drones began to slow. Their weapons dimmed. Some ships spun in circles. Others stopped moving. "It's working." Baini said that the battlefield turned quiet for a moment. The power of Vork's fleet was fading. From the flagship, a call came through. A deep, angry voice. "You cannot stop me. You are weak." Just like her people, Zira stepped forward. "You stole our peace, but not our will. That's something you'll never control." Rayhan turned the ship toward Base Echo. "Let's go home." The enemy fleet tried to follow, but most of their systems were failing. The Silver Wing raced ahead. When they arrived at Base Echo, the Resistance was ready. Fighters launched, pushing back the last working enemy ships. With the control signal gone, Vork's army was no longer as powerful. Inside the command room, Zira placed the shield device on the table. "This will protect every ship, every base, and every free being who stands against Vork." Commander Relo looked at her with deep respect. "You've done more than we could have hoped. You gave us a chance." Rayhan added, "It was her strength that made this possible." Zira's eyes softened. "And his belief in me." As the Resistance prepared to build more shields using Zira's design, news spread across systems. Slaves rebelled. Colonies pushed back. Vork's power began to crack. That night, Rayhan and Zira stood under the open sky above Base Echo. Stars sparkled gently, and the air was quiet. "You've changed the galaxy," Rayhan said. "No," Zira replied. "We changed it, together." Rayhan took her hand. "Are you ready for what comes next?" Zira smiled. "Yes, for the first time in my life, I am." The battle was over. But the war was not forgotten. Days had passed since Zira and Rehan returned to Base Echo. News of their success had spread quickly across many star systems. The shield device they built was now protecting resistance ships, colonies, and refugee planets. For the first time in many years, people began to believe that Vork could be defeated. Zira stood in the quiet hall of the Science Center, watching young engineers build new devices based on her design. They smiled and worked with hope, not fear. She never thought she would see this day. Rehan entered the hall with Bani by his side. "The second wave of shields is complete," Rehan said. "3 colonies in Sector 12 are safe now." Zira turned to him with a gentle smile. "You've been working without rest again," Rehan shrugged. "I'm used to it." She walked over and touched his arm. "You don't have to carry everything alone anymore." He looked into her eyes. "I'm not alone. Not anymore." They walked together through the base. The halls, once dark and quiet, were now full of life. People of many species worked side by side fixing ships, helping the injured, training new pilots. It was no longer just a hideout. It had become a home. In the main command room, Commander Relo stood beside a star map. "Vork's main forces have pulled back," he explained. "His grip is weakening. He's angry, but he's afraid too." Zira studied the map. "He will try something desperate." "He always does," Rehan asked. "Do we have a plan?" Relo nodded. "One final move, a strike team. We take out his control tower, the one that links all his ships. Without it, his army won't function." "And you want us to lead it?" Rehan guessed. "Yes," Relo said. "You two know him better than anyone. You've already done what no one else could." Zira looked at Rehan. "We started this together. Let's finish it." He smiled. "I'm ready." 2 days later, the Horizon was launched again. This time, it carried a full team resistance fighters trained by Rehan, tech workers guided by Zira, and of course Bani, who had upgraded his tools with excitement. They flew through deep space, quiet and steady, heading toward Vork's last stronghold. As they approached the control tower, a huge black structure floating above a dying planet, Zira took a deep breath. "This is it," she whispered. "The place where it all ends." Rehan placed a hand on her shoulder. "No more running. We end the darkness here." With expert skill, he landed the ship on the tower's upper platform. The team moved quickly, breaking through doors, disabling alarms, and fighting through the last of Vork's guards. Zira led the way to the signal core, carrying the upgraded shield pulse device. Inside the control room, Vork stood tall and dark, armor, waiting. His red eyes burned with hate. "You again," he growled. "The quiet girl who once knelt in chains." Zira stepped forward. "I kneel no more." Vork lifted a weapon. "You think your light will stop me?" Rehan raised his blaster. "She doesn't think it. She knows." The battle was fast and hard. Blasts of light filled the room. Rehan and the team fought bravely, keeping the guards busy. Zira rushed to the signal core. She placed the device and began the activation. Vork turned toward her, shouting in rage. "You are nothing." She looked at him calmly. "I am free." She pressed the final button. A wave of light exploded through the tower. Screens went dark. Ships outside powered down. Vork's army fell into silence. Rehan knocked Vork to the ground. The once powerful leader now looked weak, broken, defeated. Zira stood over him. "You built your empire on fear. But fear can't hold forever." Vork was taken prisoner. The resistance marked the day as Victory Day. Across the galaxy, lights were lit, bells rang, and people celebrated freedom. Weeks passed. At Base Echo, a ceremony was held. Zira was honored as a hero and scientist. Rehan was praised as a brave leader. After the event, Rehan and Zira walked through the gardens, planted recently by children from free colonies. "You've brought so many people hope," Rehan said. So, have you, Zira replied. I never would have done this without you. They stopped under a tree, its leaves glowing with soft colors. I have one question, Rayhan said. Zira turned to him. He held out a small silver banda, simple ring with a glowing blue stone. You were once a prisoner of darkness. Now you shine brighter than any star I've ever seen. Will you stay with me? Not just as a partner in battle, but in life? Zira's eyes filled with light. I will. They embraced under the glowing tree, while the stars above watched silently. The war had ended, but their journey was just beginning, together.